Is Africa ready for a radical shakeup? Across the continent, an unprecedented movement is building, rallying behind one man, Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. A petition is circulating, demanding Traoré become the president of a united Africa, sending current leaders packing. But is this vision of a single, unified Africa truly possible, or just a pipe dream? Chapter 1. Ibrahim Traoré, a new era in Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traoré ascended to power in Burkina Faso amidst a backdrop of political instability, taking charge during a period marked by security challenges and governance concerns. His early life and military career were largely unknown on the international stage. By 2025, Traoré's leadership has become synonymous with a distinct shift away from traditional Western alliances, prioritizing partnerships with nations such as Russia and China. His administration has focused on bolstering the nation's defense capabilities, addressing internal security threats, and initiating socio-economic reforms aimed at improving the lives of ordinary Burkinabés. Chapter 2. The Initial Petition. The Initial Petition, launched in late 2024, served as a catalyst for a broader discussion about Africa's future and its leadership. It was explicitly framed around supporting Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso, advocating for a decolonized, united Africa. Signatories, comprising a global community of Africans and members of the diaspora, expressed profound inspiration from Traoré's leadership, viewing it as a beacon of hope for the entire continent. The petition highlighted the enduring legacies of colonialism and imperialism, which have historically fractured African nations. It praised Traoré's efforts to challenge these oppressive systems and promote unity. It resonated strongly with the Pan-African vision espoused by leaders such as Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, and Patrice Lumumba. The petition urged Africans worldwide to support Traoré's leadership, resist neocolonialism, and cultivate Pan-African solidarity. Chapter 3. Key Objectives of the Petition. The objectives of the petition extend beyond mere support for Traoré's governance in Burkina Faso. They advocate for a complete reimagining of Africa's political architecture. A central goal is to dissolve existing colonial borders, uniting diverse nations under a collective leadership. This push for borderless unity has gained traction, particularly among younger generations who perceive colonial demarcations as artificial barriers hindering progress. The petition's core tenets include promoting equitable development across the continent, establishing a single currency to foster economic integration, and adopting a unified national flag as a symbol of African identity. The underlying premise is that consolidated leadership would eliminate disparities in growth and address issues such as corruption and foreign exploitation more effectively. Chapter 4. The petition's claims. The petition makes several specific claims regarding the potential benefits of a unified Africa under Traoré's leadership. It asserts that a consolidated political entity would ensure equitable development, addressing historical economic imbalances caused by colonialism. The establishment of a single currency is proposed as a means to streamline trade, reduce transaction costs, and enhance financial stability across the continent. The adoption of a unified national flag is envisioned as a powerful symbol of shared identity and collective purpose, transcending national boundaries. These claims are rooted in the belief that a united Africa would possess greater bargaining power in international affairs, enabling it to negotiate more favorable trade agreements and attract foreign investment on its own terms, by pooling resources and expertise. The petition argues Africa can accelerate its development trajectory and improve the living standards of all its citizens. Chapter 5. Pan-Africanism. The petition draws heavily on the ideals of Pan-Africanism, a movement advocating for the unity and solidarity of African peoples both on the continent and in the diaspora. Pan-Africanism seeks to dismantle the legacies of colonialism, promote self-determination, and foster a sense of shared identity. Key figures like Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, and Patrice Lumumba, who championed a united Africa, are frequently invoked as inspirations. The petition recognizes that the struggle against neocolonialism continues to be a defining challenge for the continent, with external forces exerting undue influence on African politics and economies. It asserts that Traoré's leadership embodies the spirit of resistance and self-reliance that characterized earlier Pan-African movements. By advocating for a unified Africa, the petition seeks to revive the dream of a continent free from foreign interference, capable of charting its own course and realizing its full potential on the world stage. The goal is to create a more equitable global order where Africa's voice is heard and its interests are respected. Wait a second. Do you think a single African leader could truly unite the continent? Or would it lead to more conflicts? Share your thoughts with us. Chapter 6. Neocolonialism. Neocolonialism represents a modern form of indirect control exerted by powerful nations over African countries, primarily through economic, political, and cultural means. Unlike traditional colonialism, it doesn't involve direct military occupation but rather manipulates financial systems, trade agreements, and political alliances to maintain influence. This manifests in several ways, including the imposition of unfair loan conditions, the exploitation of natural resources by foreign corporations, and the promotion of Western cultural values at the expense of local traditions. The fight against neocolonialism has gained renewed urgency, with leaders like Ibrahim Traoré openly challenging these external forces. The African Union's dependence on Western funding exemplifies this challenge, as it limits the organization's ability to make independent decisions that truly benefit the continent. The desire to break free from this cycle of dependence is a driving force behind the push for African unity. Chapter 7. Burkina Faso under Traoré. Since assuming power, Burkina Faso under Traoré has become a symbol of resistance against neo-colonial influence in Africa. Traoré's administration has taken concrete actions to assert the nation's sovereignty, including the expulsion of French troops and the diversification of international partnerships beyond traditional Western allies. His focus on internal security and socio-economic development aims to strengthen Burkina Faso from within, reducing its vulnerability to external pressures. Traoré's policies have resonated across the continent, inspiring a new generation of leaders to question the status quo. Domestically, his government faces challenges in balancing these assertive policies with the need for economic stability and national unity. The perception of Traoré as a leader willing to defy Western powers has fueled support for the petition, positioning Burkina Faso as a beacon of hope for a more independent Africa. Chapter 8. Petition supporters' rationale. Supporters of the petition to make Ibrahim Traoré President of Africa are driven by a deep-seated desire for self-determination and liberation from neo-colonial influences. They view the current divided leadership in Africa as a barrier to progress, citing issues such as poverty, corruption, and foreign exploitation. The rationale behind the petition lies in the belief that a unified Africa under a strong, decisive leader like Traoré can overcome these challenges more effectively. Supporters point to Traoré's actions in Burkina Faso as evidence of his commitment to challenging the status quo and prioritizing the interests of his people. This movement reflects a broader sentiment that Africa must take control of its destiny, free from external interference. They believe a united Africa can unlock its potential and create a more prosperous and equitable future for all its citizens. Chapter 9. Petition momentum. The petition to make Ibrahim Traoré President of Africa has experienced significant momentum, largely fueled by social media platforms. Hashtags like Traoré for Africa and Our African Unity have trended on Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook, attracting millions of supporters across the continent and the diaspora. This digital momentum reflects a growing Pan-African sentiment and a desire for systemic change. The online campaign has amplified the message of the petition, reaching a wider audience and galvanizing support for Traoré's vision of a united and self-reliant Africa. The digital space has become a critical tool for organizing and mobilizing individuals who share a common belief in the need for transformative leadership and a rejection of neocolonialism. The speed and scale of this digital uprising highlight the power of social media in shaping public opinion and driving political movements. Chapter 10. Reactions to the petition. The petition has elicited mixed reactions from political analysts, African leaders, and the general public. While many analysts acknowledge the underlying frustrations with the status quo and the desire for stronger leadership, they also raise concerns about the practicality of a single African president. Some African leaders have remained silent, possibly viewing Traoré's leadership as a challenge to their own authority. The general public is divided, with some expressing enthusiastic support and others questioning the feasibility and potential consequences of such a radical shift. Critics argue that the African Union's ineffectiveness undermines the idea of a unified political entity. Governments across Africa have largely ignored the petition. The divergent reactions underscore the complex challenges and diverse perspectives surrounding the issue of African unity, reflecting a continent grappling with its identity and future direction. Chapter 11. Criticisms of a single African leader. One of the most prominent criticisms leveled against the proposal of a single African leader centers on the sheer impracticality of governing such a vast and diverse continent. Critics question whether any one individual could effectively address the unique challenges facing each of Africa's 54 nations. Concerns are also raised about the potential for authoritarianism, with fears that a centralized power structure could suppress dissent and undermine democratic principles. The logistical complexities of managing diverse political systems, economies, and cultural identities under a single administration are significant obstacles. By 2025, discussions among political analysts emphasize the need for strong checks and balances, regional autonomy, and safeguards against the abuse of power in any unified African structure. Skeptics highlight the importance of learning from past failures of centralized governance in Africa. I have a question for you. How do you think other world powers would react to a united Africa under one president? Share your thoughts with us. Chapter 12. Challenges to African Unity. Achieving genuine African unity faces numerous complex challenges, stemming from the continent's diverse political systems, ideologies, languages, and economic interests. The legacy of colonial borders has created artificial divisions, fostered regional rivalries, and hindered cooperation. Economic disparities between nations further complicate the integration process, with wealthier countries potentially reluctant to share resources with less developed ones. The presence of multiple regional blocs, each with its own agenda, can also create conflicting priorities. Analysts emphasize the need for incremental steps toward unity, focusing on practical areas of collaboration such as trade, infrastructure development, and security cooperation, while respecting the sovereignty of individual nations. Overcoming these hurdles requires a commitment to inclusivity, dialogue, and a shared vision for the future. Chapter 13. Tribalism within African nations. Tribalism remains a persistent source of conflict and instability within many African nations, undermining efforts to promote national unity and development. The legacy of colonial divide-and-rule tactics has exacerbated ethnic tensions, creating deep-seated mistrust and competition for resources and power. In some countries, political elites exploit ethnic divisions to maintain their grip on power, fueling resentment and violence. This tribalism can manifest in various forms, including discrimination, marginalization, and armed conflict. Initiatives aimed at promoting social cohesion and reconciliation are gaining traction, emphasizing the importance of inclusive governance, equitable resource distribution, and education to foster a shared national identity. Overcoming tribalism requires a long-term commitment to addressing its root causes and building trust among diverse communities. Chapter 14. Traoré's anti-colonial stance. Ibrahim Traoré's anti-colonial stance has set him apart as a leader willing to challenge Western influence and assert Burkina Faso's sovereignty. His decision to expel French troops and seek partnerships with non-Western countries, such as Russia and China, reflects a desire to break free from historical patterns of dependence and exploitation. This defiance of traditional power structures has resonated with many Africans who view Traoré as a symbol of resistance against neocolonialism. However, his actions have also drawn criticism from Western powers and media outlets, who accuse him of authoritarianism and undermining democratic values. Traoré's approach is prompting a broader debate about Africa's relationship with the West and the need for African nations to chart their own course, free from external interference. Hold on a second. If you could choose any African leader to lead a united Africa, who would it be and why? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. The petition to make Ibrahim Traoré president of Africa has sparked a crucial conversation. Whether you believe in a unified Africa under one leader or see it as an impossible dream, it's clear that Africans are yearning for change. So, what do you think? Is Traoré the leader Africa needs, or is there a better path forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this important discussion going. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights into Africa's future.